Hello, welcome along to Renew Every Morning. It is the 16th of September and it's a very special day. It's certainly a special day for us because today is the 25th anniversary of the Grace Project. It's just wedded that quarter of a century ago. And this morning what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin a new series within our Renewed Every Morning series. And this is going to be a kind of retrospective, a look back at one of the books I wrote called The Bonsai Conspiracy. So these Bonsai Conspiracy talks are going to take us through a little while because I really want to think about the journey that we've made over these last 25 years. And I'm particularly interested in that because I think when I think about the Bonsai Conspiracy, I think that was very much my thesis. And I kind of wrote that, say 25 years ago. I started working on that book literally 25 years ago. So it's very interesting to just reflect again on the book. So that's interesting. But also, in addition to the Bonsai Conspiracy, which we're going to look at, and this book really, if you're not familiar with it, this book really is kind of asks the question as to why we're so easily stunted, and when grace invites us to live in fullness and in total freedom. And it feels especially fitting today, as I say, because later on today, this evening, in fact, at 6 o'clock BST and 1 o'clock EST, I'll be in a live Facebook conversation with my dear friend Dr. Steve McVeigh, author of so many books. I mean, goodness knows, he's written 30 or so, I guess. But I'm thinking particularly about the foundational books, Grace Walk and Grace Rules, as part of our 25th anniversary reflection on the Grace Project. And together we'll be kind of asking Ralph Waldo Emerson's question, what has become clear to you since you last met, or in this case, since we first met? And our friendship does date back nearly all of those 25 years, 24, I think, to be precise. So I'd love you to join us this evening. It's going to be on Facebook Live. So special anniversary edition. Come be part of the journey, be part of the conversation, and maybe you can ask yourself as well what's become clear to you. So we'll certainly open up and have some moderated chat. So I'm looking forward to that. But let's jump into our first talk in this new series. And I'm going to call this, let's simply call it this way, Honey, I Shrunk the Soul. Now, there's a line in that old Rick Moranis film, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which essentially says this. It says, the scientist looks at his children, who are now the size of ants, and he says, I love the statement. Listen, think about this from the spiritual parallel. We're a quarter of an inch tall, 64 feet from the house. That's the equivalent of 3.2 miles, and that's a long way, even for a man of science. Now, it's a funny line in a funny family film, but it creates a kind of sobering truth, I think, many of us deep down would feel and would recognize about what's happened to our souls. I mean, that's just simply the truth of it. In our workplaces, in our place of worship and so on, this shrinkage is something that we would all recognize. We know we're children of God, we're clear about that. We're made in his image, we're redeemed by his son. But when we look at our own lives, I wonder if you, like me, have thought to yourselves, we just feel small. We feel shrunk. We feel bonsai-sized. I think there's a real parallel for this in my corporate world, for sure, where the idea of honey, I shrunk the soul could not be a greater truth. But this is a broad application, and that's why I wanted to call this first session Honey, I Shrunk the Soul. So let's talk about the bonsai metaphor for a little while. You know what a bonsai is, right? You know, it's literally, if you think about bonsai as an art, it's the art of cultivating a miniature tree. Same DNA as an oak tree, extraordinary, same DNA, but what happens is it's constrained by a shallow pot. The roots are clipped, the branches are pruned, and the growth is managed. Sounds familiar? It looks beautiful, of course it does. It looks impressive, but it's not its full size. And I guess that's the picture of what happens when religion, without grace, takes hold of us. Same new creation DNA, no arguing about that. You literally, you are of Christ. That's no disputing about that. A new creation order, that's what we know. Same spirit of Christ is within you, no disputing that. But you've been planted in a kind of very shallow pot of approval seeking, and you've been trimmed by the scissors of performance, and you've been kept in tight, small boundaries of ought to, shoulda, and must try harder. Now that, my friends, is what happens when you become spiritually bonsai'd. And maybe over the years we start to accept it. Maybe over the years we think that's all there is. My favourite movie, as many of you know, is The Shawshank Redemption, and there's a wonderful line in it where Red's character says, when you first come into this place, you hate these walls, but after a while, you learn to depend on them. Well, now, there's a very interesting little phrase that the Bible has for this. You can find it in Numbers chapter 13. And what happens is the spies come to spy out the land, and they come back from Cana with this report. Now, bear in mind, they come back laden with the fruits of Eshcol. They're having to carry the fruits, the grapes, on a pole. I mean, it's just it's extraordinary. Imagine going down to your local supermarket and having to carry the grapes back on poles, 4 men carrying them along because they're so enormous. So the land is good. They are very positive about the land itself. But then they notice something. They say there were giants in the land. And in Numbers 13, verse 33, here's what they say. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them. Did you hear that? In our own eyes. They weren't grasshoppers. They were covenant people. But they saw themselves as small. And that's what happens when one's had your soul bonsai'd. You suffer from grasshopper syndrome. You begin to interpret your whole life through the lens of shrinkage. I'm not enough. I don't have enough. I'll never add up. I will never measure up to that. Other people are real Christians. I'm just pretending. And when you see yourself that way, you live that way. You pray small, you dream small, you love small, you think small, you aim small. And this shrinkage, by the way, happens so easily. But the truth is, nobody shrinks overnight. It happens one approval moment seeking at a time. One teacher tells you you'll never amount to much. One parent whose kind of love felt conditional, maybe. One church leader who measured holiness by your church attendance, or maybe an inner voice that whispered to you, do better and you'll be loved. Just try harder and they'll love you. And before you know it, the tree is miniature, the pot is shallow, and the branches are trimmed to safe size. And here's the kind of tragedy, I guess. Bonsai trees are praised for their neatness. And sometimes bonsai Christians, that bonsai Christian life is applauded by the very systems that keep it small. And this is something I really want to talk about because in my own life, I know this story very well. I know this because this is my lived experience. I became a performance addict when I was 45 days old. I grew up believing I had to achieve more to be accepted. I spent years and years with the fear of failure gnawing away at me and the belief that my best would never really be good enough. And yet, here's the grace. There was this sense that there must be more. It never quite left me. It never quite abandoned me. And that's why I want to say to you today, if you've ever had that same thought, you're right. There is more. There's so much more. There is what Paul describes in Romans as the how much more. I mean, it's just crazy what's out there for us. So we're interested now as we kind of develop our conversations together in this series around the bonsai conspiracy. What we're wanting to do here is right sizing, not supersizing. So let me be clear, it's not about chasing bigness, not interested in that. This isn't about ego or power or trying to be impressive. No interest in that whatsoever. The gospel doesn't inflate us, it right sizes us. No more, no less. And that's why Paul could say in Galatians 2 verse 20, the key verse that so many of us who've come to understand this message have believed in. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And the life I now live in the body, I live by the faith of the Son of God who loved me and gave himself up for me. Now, I just have to be careful with you about this verse, because I want you to hear exactly what Paul is saying. He's saying, it's no longer I that live, but Christ who lives in me. So they're not I, but Christ here. And the life I live in the body, so there is a life being lived, watch, but it's the Christ life. I live by the faith of the Son of God. It doesn't say I live by faith in the Son of God. It says I live by the faith of the Son of God. And that is a corresponding verse to Habakkuk chapter 2, verse, is it 8? That the righteous shall live by his faith. So watch that. It's very, very important. The life I live by the faith of the Son of God who loved me and gave himself up for me personally. And so the Christian life is not about you trying to grow bigger. No. It's about Christ being himself in you, the Son literally living his life through you. Now, there is a significant cost to you and I staying small, a significant cost. And that is if we accept bonsai Christianity, we accept a faith that's to be endured, not a faith that's to be enjoyed. We live in a kind of low level guilt mind, which says you should be doing better than this. We carry, if you like, almost a fear of freedom, I think, because what happens is those rules, maybe they feel safer than grace, because grace is dangerous, it's outrageous, it's uncharted, it's unscripted, it's untethered. And eventually we just burn out. So friends, I want to tell you the truth. Staying small is not safe. Staying small is slow suffocation. And so I want just to give us a kind of invitation to grace. It's just such a beautiful invitation. Grace doesn't shout, grow! It doesn't scream at the branches to grow. Grace changes the pot. Grace gives you roots, gives your roots room. Grace whispers, you're already accepted in the beloved. The psalmist says it this way, be still and know that I am God, Psalm 46. Stillness isn't passivity, it's surrender. It's letting the role of the self-savior, letting go of the role of being a self-saving self. It's giving roots space to go deep into Christ. And so we will need to do something, I suspect, about practicing resizing in the time we've got together. So let me offer you just one quick practice for this week, today really. Take a moment each day, maybe just 60 seconds, just to be still and just to breathe, and ask yourself this question. What do I lack at this precise moment? 9 times out of 10, the answer will be nothing. No thing. Because I am, and I am with you in the present. God is not the I was, He's not the I will be, He's the I am in the here and now. He is all and in all, an all-sufficient Saviour. So look, friends, the bonsai may be beautiful to look at, no doubt about that, but you were made for more than a miniaturized faith. Make no mistake about that. So let's change the pot. Let's give the roots space with your ideas to just, and your branches to stretch out. And let's allow grace to just right-size our souls. So we've seen how the soul can be shrunk, can be trimmed down, can be boxed in, can be laid less than it was ever meant to be. And here's the truth, it doesn't have to happen by accident. There's a system behind it. It looks neat, it even looks impressive for outside, but inside, it leaves us stunted. And so in our next conversation tomorrow, we'll call this out for what it is. I call it the bonsai conspiracy. But for now, hear this. You are not a grasshopper. You are not miniature. You are not bonsai. You are beloved. You are accepted. And Christ lives vitally in and through you. Well, have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for Talk 2. But before that, come and see us this evening for my conversation with Steve McVeigh. It's going to be a ball. I'm so looking forward to it. All right, much love. See you tomorrow, or see you tonight, and then I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.